During my summers off from school, I would work at a local pizza restaurant in my small hometown. It's one of those types of near ghost towns where everybody knows everybody. The actual size of the small hometown is measured by the amount of traffic lights that regulate the streets. In my case, it was only two. Getting this job was an easy task. I knew the owners because one's husband was the basketball coach, and the other was their mother who had owned the place for years and years, and remembered the little boy version of me eating pizza there with my family. Looking back on all this, I have to say that working there was one of the best jobs I've ever had. The work was fun and the people were even better. I even looked forward to working double shifts. More opportunities to laugh and have fun with my coworkers. Along with the hefty paychecks didn't look bad either. It's funny how my young mind thought a couple $100 in my paycheck made me feel like a millionaire. No taxes or debts, I guess. Two small trailer parks gave residents a place to live in this town. Many of these people worked menial jobs or were on welfare. It was pretty obvious when payday came around. On those bi-weekly or monthly Friday nights, we usually hit hard with orders. Sheet pizzas, hoagies, ice cream, and sundaes, all which were to be delivered. Try to imagine the difficulty of delivering a fresh hot pizza and an ice-cold sundae at the same time. I wouldn't even get my hopes up for tips during these days. The trailer park crowd usually wanted every cent of their change back anyways, but I honestly did not mind the work. Since I was 18, I was able to work deliveries, which I loved. Deliveries gave me a chance to have some quiet time while driving around, admiring the natural beauty of my town, or to listen to the latest CD I purchased with the windows down. But of course, my greedy side liked it the best, since the night always ended with a hefty amount of tips that I was able to keep. Straight cash. Well, except from the trailer park's residents. Now, being a delivery boy could also be a little scary. I made deliveries to houses where it was obvious the residents were drunk or high, along with I've delivered to houses with evidence of underage drinking. But what intrigued me the most was delivering to trailer parks. As I said before, there were two in my hometown, resting on opposite sides. When the owners would answer the door, I had the chance to peek inside. The taxpayers treated these people very well, judging by the amount of piercings covering their faces and the large TVs hanging on their walls. I even saw a large saltwater tank with exotic fish swimming in it. However, it was during one delivery at a trailer park that really scarred me and keeps me thinking back from years. To put it bluntly, this certain delivery gave me the creeps. This day was like any other, fun at work and making jokes about customers with my coworkers and trying to keep a straight face while taking orders. I was working deliveries that night, and I was looking forward to taking a few extra bucks home for spending money. I had a handful of order tickets and 2 insulated delivery bags full of hot pizza. The smell of pizza quickly filled my car. The first delivery transaction happened with no issue and a nice tip. The second was the same. The third was interrupted by my own clumsiness as I dropped some of the customer's food. That most likely led to the skimpy tip. It was dark now and I had a fourth delivery to finish. But the fourth delivery is the one that still lingers in the back of my mind. For the sake of saying it anonymous, I will refer to the street name as 5 Trailer Park Lane, which is one of the trailer parks in my hometown. It took me a while to find this place, but eventually the small reflective 5 sticker was illuminated by my headlights. I parked in the lot, noticing there were no other vehicles. There were no lights on in this trailer at all, which was odd. Especially those expecting me often left a courtesy light on. I knocked 3 separate times on the door, when finally a shadowy figure of an old woman came into focus through the glass window. The deadbolt slid open, as did the door, revealing a woman dressed head to toe in a suit. She looked confused. "Hello, here's your delivery." "Delivery?" the woman said, confused. "This is 5 Trailer Park Lane, right?" "Yes, but I didn't order any pizza," she said. At this moment I thought a prank had been pulled and I fell for it. But I decided to probe a little further. I looked down at the order ticket. "Are you Marie?" I asked. At this moment the woman's face went from confusion to complete terror. "Who did you ask I was?" she asked. "Marie?" "Marie. Marie died 5 years ago." At this point I think my face took on her lost, confused characteristic. I decided that something was wrong and that I should go back to the restaurant to work it out. "I'm sorry, man, there must have been some kind of mistake. My apologies," I said. She responded with a weary nod and slowly shut the door. I heard the deadbolt slide back into place as I descended down the stairs. I drove back to the restaurant in silence. Once there, I told my bosses about the interaction I had. Of course, they thought I was kidding and laughed it off. I wasn't until after my consistence they believed me. Their advice was that this woman must have been suffering of dementia and perhaps ordered the pizza and forgot. We were to place the pizza on an oven in case the woman called back. If not, we could eat it later. This was not the first time this had happened, so the logic somewhat settled my nerves. 10 o'clock finally came, which meant closing time. We decided to open up the forgotten pizza and enjoy a couple slices as we cleaned up. After an hour of sweeping, mopping, taking out the trash, wiping down tables, and carrying out trays, I let out a sigh of relief as I counted the money in my delivery bag. I was satisfied with the night's tips. I had only one ticket in the discard pile, the slip from this Marie in the trailer park. I'd almost forgotten about my strange encounter and was now intrigued. After clocking out, I sat in my car, deciding whether or not to swing by the trailer park to check on this woman. Maybe she lived alone. It was close to 11:15 by the time I got there. I found the reflective 5 sticker on the end of the trailer again and parked in the lot. I left my keys in the ignition in case I needed to leave in a hurry. I never dealt with a person suffering from dementia, and I did not want to take any chances. Again, there were no lights on in the trailer. However, there was something that caught my eye that I didn't see before. A bright yellow sign was stuck to the window of the front door. Maybe I didn't notice it when I was there earlier. As I approached the front door, I noticed what was written on the sign, in large bold print. Eviction. It wasn't until then I noticed the padlock attached to the door, which I knew wasn't there before. Looking closely at the sign on the door, I see that the eviction notice detailed that the eviction took place 5 years ago. Luckily, I had discarded the delivery ticket in my pocket with those loose dollar bills. We usually write the phone number of the delivery on the ticket when the order is placed in case of confusion during the delivery. I took my cell and with shaking thumbs I punched in every digit. In the quiet evening air I could hear every digit's tone pierce through the night straight to my eardrum. After pushing send, I slowly raised the phone to my ear and waited. Nothing. Then 3 familiar tones in the hollow automated voice informed me this number had been disconnected or out of service. At this moment everything came into perspective, a black and hopeless clarity. That from this trailer, the woman I know and saw at this trailer told me that Marie died 5 years ago and this eviction took place 5 years ago. The phone from which the order was placed was no longer in service. Who ordered that pizza? Even more frightening, who answered that door? My name is Tyler and I deliver pizzas in a small town in northern Canada. I'm writing this immediately after getting off shift and I'm freaked out just recollecting what happened. The town that I deliver in consists of about 25,000 people spread out along the foothills of a large mountain range. Many people that live here are farmers or loggers, and along with that we have a small college that people attend. Unlike most delivery stores, the one that I work for allows people outside of the city limits to order pizza. Our store is like this because many of the town's residents actually live outside of the city limits in the foothills where their farms are. Obviously, this causes me and the other drivers to be gone for long periods of time on deliveries. During the long deliveries, we aren't expected to be back for a minimum of an hour before my boss starts to call. To top it off, we were open until 5 a.m. every single night. This combination of variables has caused me to witness and be a part of some really messed up and creepy stuff during my years here. I haven't told anybody much of it, but after tonight, I think I'm gonna have to get it off my chest. Tonight started out like most other Tuesday nights. I was making bad tips and getting increasingly depressed about how my life was as a pizza driver. I had already taken several deliveries out to the boonies, and most of those living out there didn't even toss a dollar my way. When the in-store delivery computer chimed that I had a delivery, I dreaded that it would be back out there. Lo and behold, this delivery was to a house that hadn't ordered before, far outside the city. Feeling pretty irritated, I looked back at the special delivery instructions portion of the delivery slip and felt a little bit better. It read, "Big tip as long as the instructions are followed. Take the pizza inside the house to the upstairs bedroom. The door will be unlocked." Instructions like these aren't too uncommon because people can just really be lazy. Feeling excited that my tips were about to pick up, I raced out there at record speeds. I didn't even stop to get coffee like I usually do on those long deliveries. After about 25 minutes of driving down mostly dirt road, I reached what my GPS said was the address. I hadn't seen another house for at least the last 5 minutes, but which again, that's not really uncommon out in the boonies. Pulling up the driveway, I realized that this house was all kinds of messed up. From the road it looked okay, but close up I could tell that nobody had lived there for a very long time. The house was 2 stories tall, with a roof that was partially caved in and broken windows everywhere. And to top it off, there wasn't even a front door on it. I opened my car door and went around the other side to grab the pizza. As I was doing this, I started to hear a sound that made every hair on my body stand up. From the top left window, which from the directions on the tag was where the owner wanted the pizza, I could faintly hear laughing. What disturbed me so much about the laughing was that it wasn't your typical laugh because something was funny laugh. The only way I can describe it is that it sounded like somebody was trying to imitate laughing, despite never hearing them laugh in their life. It just sounded so fake and everything was so off about it. Now thoroughly freaked out, I was barely able to squeak out, "Hello," in front of the door. No matter how hard I tried, I could not get the sound of whatever that was up there out of my head. After about 30 seconds of waiting, I heard a response. "I'm very hungry. Please hurry." That phrase in itself doesn't seem terrifying in any way, but the way that whatever was up there said it had me fighting back a panic attack. The way that thing talked was so inhuman and so wrong. Its cadence was just off and its voice seemed so strained. Whatever that thing was, I never found out. I dropped the pizza on the floor and drove off as fast as humanly possible. Despite writing this in the safety of my own home, I still feel sketched out about the entire situation. I used to work as a pizza delivery guy in Detroit for several years. The neighborhoods I used to work in were fairly safe, but sometimes I was sent to areas that had been truly devastated by the recession. This incident occurred late in the fall a few years ago, and the memory of it will stay with me until the day that I die. Doesn't matter how hard I try to suppress it or force it out of my consciousness, it always floats back to the surface. It was a Thursday evening and it had been a hectic shift and I was making the last delivery for the night. The order was going to a residence in one of the less favorable parts of town. That didn't really shock me. It was to be expected every now and again. Even folks in rough areas order pizzas and have cell phones. But I have to admit it, I wasn't too thrilled about the possibility of getting attacked. The house was just a tiny little shack on a big corner block. There were no lights on inside, and for a brief moment I prayed that I had the wrong address. But a quick look at the mailbox out front squashed my hopes of a safe getaway. I cursed silently as I gazed over the desolate property. The moon was out and made it even creepier. I could see the grass on the lawn was knee-high, and then there was garbage everywhere. The house was riddled with holes, and the windows were boarded up with plywood. Needless to say, I had a very bad feeling about what was about to happen. And if it had been up to me, I would have just kept driving. But that was out of the question. I couldn't afford to lose my job, and career opportunities weren't exactly growing on trees in the city. So I stayed where I was. I took a few deep breaths to try to calm myself. Then I grabbed the pizza boxes and reached for the Coke bottle next to me in the passenger seat. Then I found myself walking up to the house. The cold evening air gushing through the area was racing it out of my lungs like pistons in a car engine. The gravel made loud crunching noises every time I put my foot down, and I kept looking around nervously, convinced that some psycho was going to jump me any second. But no one came. I was all alone. As I climbed the concrete stoop leading up to the porch, I noticed the front door was ajar, and I stopped dead in my tracks and just stared at it. For some strange reason, it scared the crap out of me. I could feel my heart start to race along even faster. A voice inside my head kept telling me to get out of there, and I had to admit it, I seriously entertained the idea of just leaving the pizzas on the porch and taking off. But I knew I couldn't. I had to follow protocol. Leaving food outside a residence was a fireable offense, so I walked the rest of the way to the door and gave it a quick knock. The force of my fist striking the old timber made it move, and a loud sound escaped from somewhere deep inside me as the squeaky hinges gave up a high-pitched wail. No one came to the door, though. I swallowed hard, braced myself to put my knuckles up to the door again, and this time I shouted the words, "Pizza's here," into the dark void. But still, there was no answer. I foolishly believed that I was off the hook. Then as I went to turn around and leave, a faint, cold, raspy voice coming from somewhere deep inside the house told me to enter. I stood absolutely still, staring at the gap in the doors with my eyes that were ready to pop out of their sockets. And for a brief second, I started wondering if I'd imagined it. But then the voice called out again, and this time it kept repeating the words over and over and over. It had a menacing quality to it, and my whole body started shaking. And that's when I made up my mind. I threw the pizzas down, not really caring about whether I had my job to go to the next day, and booked it. I jumped from the top of the stoop and ran down the driveway back to my car, and I almost ripped the door off its hinges as I threw myself inside. My hands were shaking so badly that it took me a good 10 seconds just to get the engine started. Then I raced out of the neighborhood as fast as I could, gasping for air all the way back to the restaurant. Maybe it was the effect of the adrenaline wearing off, or maybe it was just a delayed reaction, but when I opened the door and got out of the car, I immediately threw up. But at least I was alive, and that was all that mattered. The next morning I woke up to someone banging at my door. When I opened up, 2 police officers greeted me with sad expressions. After asking a few questions, one of them took a step forward, looked me straight in the eyes, and informed me that 2 pizza delivery guys had been found dead inside the house. He then pulled out a picture from the inside pocket of his jacket and handed it to me. He gave me a few seconds to study it, and then he told me that they had found the picture taped to one of the bodies. It contained 3 faces. 2 had big red X's across them. The last one didn't. The last face was mine. I managed to look up to the officer and shake my head before I passed out and hit the floor. The next day I left Detroit, and I've never been back since.